Hi, it's Dr. Gemma. As you can tell, I've got a little bit of a cold, but I wanted to push on and get up a video. I'm sorry, camera adjustment there. I wanted to push on and get up a video about what we call sleep hygiene, which is, in the common language, good habits that will help you get better sleep. Now, in my last video, I talked about what to do when you're trying to sleep and you can't fall asleep. So what do you do when you're in the moment? But there are a lot of habits that keep you from reaching that moment, and that's what we're going to talk about. I anticipate doing a series of 4 of these because there's so many tips. So this first one's going to seem a little simplistic and I hope a little short, because this is really about the central concept of good sleep habits, which is plan for 8 hours of continuous sleep. If you're under the age of 18, plan for 10 hours of continuous sleep. And that's the first strategy, is you have to find a time every day and every night, preferably the same times, to go to sleep. You want to train your body to be tired at a certain time and to pass out at a certain time. The part of your brain that controls your sleep habits is called the reticular activating system. It lives right back here in your dumb lizard brain, okay, the RAS. And it's really very stupid, okay? And we have it in common with all sorts of lower animals. And that should tell you something, that your forebrain, your thinking brain, isn't involved in trying to go to sleep. So you can't talk yourself into going to sleep. You have to train yourself. And because this is a really very primitive part of our brain, you got to train yourself over and over again over a long period of time. So this may not be quick for you. And so these have to become habits, okay? So the first thing is accept that you're going to need 8 hours continuous sleep and try to plan it for the exact same time every night. I know this can be challenging because one night of the week I work until 9 o'clock at night, routinely seeing patients. Normally I'd like to go to bed at 10 o'clock. That isn't going to happen because I don't even get home till 10. So, we all do our best, but sometimes we just can't make this work. But you want to stick to the same sleeping and waking times, even on your holidays and your weekends and your vacations. Because if you have sleep problems, that's going to help you the most. Okay, now that we've decided we're going to get 8 hours of sleep, we want to plan which 8 hours we're going to get every night. And the easiest way to control this is with your alarm clock, because the thing we have the most control over is what time we get up. We can't necessarily be sure we'll fall asleep at the right time, but if we have a good alarm clock, we'll certainly get up at the right time. So you want to decide, what time do I want to wake up every morning? Hopefully it's the same time, 7 mornings a week, and set your alarm clock for that. Now, a few tips about this. First of all, for years, all they sold, or at least all I ever found, were these alarms that basically sounded like we were under nuclear attack. They used to scare the bloody daylights out of me. Forgive me if you're British. And I would wake up with my fingernails embedded in the ceiling, shaking like a leaf, okay? So here's a tip. Get an alarm you can live with. I like the fact that my iPad, has a very gentle boing, boing, boing. And my Alexa also has a very gentle boing, boing, boing. So please look for an alarm clock that you can live with. And also, if you have anybody else in the room with you, or anybody else who will be awakened by the alarm in another room, please make sure they can live with your alarm. Don't destroy your family just to get a good alarm clock, folks. Okay, so you're going to set that alarm for the desired waking time. And here's tip number 3. When that alarm goes off, you must immediately stand up. Get vertical. Do not wake up, roll over, and say, oh, hit the snooze button. Don't do that. That never works. It's a very, very bad idea, and you're basically untraining what you're trying to train in. So you say, but I can't. Well, you can. There's just a few hacks. For one thing, what I tell people to do is, if you can't get up right away, make sure that you put your alarm across the room from you so that you have to get up to turn it off. If you have a partner in your bed, that's even better, because he or she will probably whack you in the head with a pillow until you do so. So please, if your alarm goes off, you must get vertical immediately so that you have a better chance of staying that way. When the alarm goes off, you must get up. And that means you might have to walk across the room to get to the alarm so that you do get up. Now, the other thing is, you've got the morning worked out now if you do these things. So the last step in this particular group is to count 8 hours backwards from the time you just set your alarm to. So for example, I get up at 6 a.m. every morning. So I go to bed at 10 p.m. And when I say go to bed at 10 p.m., I mean I am in the bed, my teeth are brushed, my face is washed, I am in my pajamas, I am lying in the bed with the light off and my eyes closed, ready to sleep. When I say you must go to bed 8 hours before your alarm goes off, I don't mean get ready to go to bed. I don't mean go brush your teeth, kiss all the kids goodnight, blah, blah, blah. I mean be in the bed ready to sleep. But you say, Dr. Gemma, I need to have about an hour to put all the kids to bed, to brush teeth and all that sort of thing. Yes, you do. So if your ideal bedtime is 10 p.m., you're going to start your nightly routine at 9 p.m. And if you have a nightly routine, that will also help you to go to sleep. If you go through the same actions every night before you climb into bed, that will actually train your brain to anticipate sleep. So you're going to count those 8 hours backwards, and you're going to put yourself in bed at that time. Now, here's the next thing you're going to figure out. Okay, so if you're like me, you usually fool around till about midnight, then you go, oh my God, and you go to bed, and you wake up at 6 and you're hurting. Yeah. So if I go to bed at 10 o'clock, what if I don't get to sleep until midnight? That happens when you have bad sleep problems, okay? The answer is you're going to have a couple lousy days when you start this. You got to start somewhere. And your sleep is already ruined. So this isn't going to make it worse, trust me. When that alarm goes off at 6 a.m., even if you don't fall asleep till midnight, you get out of the bed, you get vertical, and you have a pretty rotten, tired, achy day. But that night, after you've had that rotten day, you'll be really tired and you'll pass out. Now here's the other trick. If your sleep time is 10 p.m. and you stay up till midnight, and then the next morning you get up at 6, then you hurt all day. So that next night, you're ready to go to bed at 7. Don't do it. Wait until 10. The job is to train your body. Keep yourself up, okay? Now here's what I'm really talking about. We have actually a hormonal cycle as humans that drives our sleeping and our waking when all else is doing well. Okay, the cycle is on about a 23-hour cycle, something I've never had explained to me well, since our daylight here on planet Earth is on a 24-hour cycle, but there you go. Okay, so the idea is, in the morning, what wakes us up is this cycle. It's when our hormone cortisol goes high. Now, you've heard me talk about cortisol as a stress hormone before. It still is, but it also governs our sleeping and waking cycles. It is on a natural cycle in our body. So if I'm getting up every morning at 6, my body is trained so that a little before 6, my cortisol levels will peak in my bloodstream, and that will wake me up. And then, if all goes well, cortisol will slowly, gradually drop in my bloodstream until I go to bed. And that means probably around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'll start noticing it and feeling tired, and at 10 o'clock, I'll drop to sleep. That's if all goes well. If I'm having a stressful day, my cortisol will have been driven up artificially by stress earlier in the day, and that will muck things up. So we want to avoid stress, don't we? Yes, we do. But also, we want to pay attention to this because the problem is your cortisol hits its lowest level when you expect to fall asleep. So if I'm trained to go to bed at about 10, my cortisol hits bottom. Then it begins to slowly rise in preparation for waking me 8 hours later. So what happens if I stay awake till midnight? My cortisol may be too high to allow me to go to sleep. Remember, we all took advantage of this in college. We called it an all-nighter, where, you'd be used to going to bed at about 10 o'clock, and 1 in the morning, you're like, yeah, I feel great, I feel powerful, and you'd feel really good. The only problem is you drank too much caffeine to stay awake if you were me. And so you'd have a rebound effect from the caffeine, which is to say, after a certain point, when you take too much caffeine, your body decides you've poisoned yourself, and it goes in overdrive to counteract the caffeine and puts you to sleep instead of waking you up. Yeah. So, I always had my caffeine rebound about 3 in the morning. Couldn't figure out why suddenly I couldn't keep my eyes open. It's because I was doing stupid things, okay? But it's really important to consider that cortisol schedule in your body because it really means that you must go to bed when you're tired, not later, not sooner. We know from all sorts of studies, by the way. People say, well, I'll just sleep a few hours tonight. Tomorrow night I'll make it up and sleep extra. Actually, guys, if you sleep too little, of course you're tired the next day. But if you sleep too much, you're still tired the next day. Human bodies are kind of wonderful, strange machines, aren't they? And this is, of course, the problem of depressed people. If they sleep too much and they think that somehow they're coping, and then they get up and they're really, really tired, and everybody's saying, I don't get it, you slept 12 hours last night, you should be really refreshed. Nope, they slept too much. That's the way the body works. So let's do a quick recap. Here's the first bunch of strategies, but there's going to be 3 more parts to this series about good sleep habits. The first one, simply put, is to plan for 8 hours of continuous sleep, the same time, every night if you can. That means setting your alarm 7 days a week for your desired waking time. That's step 2. Number 3, when your alarm goes off, immediately stand up and do not stay lying down, do not stay in the bed, do not go back to sleep or go back to bed or hit the snooze button. If you must, put your alarm clock across the room so that you have to stand up to get to it. Finally, once you have established what time you're getting up, count 8 hours backwards from that desired time, and that's when you should be in bed ready to sleep every single night. Which means if you need an hour to prepare for bed, 9 hours before your alarm clock goes off, you should be getting ready for bed. 8 hours, you should be in bed and ready to go to sleep. So that's the first 4 of many more. But this is how to establish habits in your life and in your family's lives that will lead to good sleep, okay? So there we go. I'm sorry about the creaky voice. Everybody stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.